with like the blues and stuff, what's the one record that just kind of like made you want to learn?
Well, early on it was that Paul Butterfield's Blues Band album that I mentioned, but it was really the first Jeff Beck album, Truth, with him and singer Rod Stewart. That really, like I said, it was the Chicago blues, but they had Marshall amps and big drum sounds, and it was really heavy, and that's what really turned me on. Actually, they're doing another record, Jeff Beck with Rod Stewart. They're working on it now, blues record. Yeah.
The original guys, or just him and Stewart?
The two of them. I don't know who else is
Still
involved.
should be pretty awesome.
Yeah, really. But, all right.
Before Boston, how much effects did you use on the guitar before you started?
Before Boston, nothing.
Is it regular?
Yeah, I was pretty much just straight in the amp at that point. I think the first effect I bought was a wah-wah pedal. And Tom and I realized that if you took the wah-wah pedal and you set it in the middle, so it was right in the mid-range, you get that really cool mid-range sound, and that's really where the Boston sound came from. It was us kicking around with that first wah-wah pedal.
When I was watching from here, where I was sitting, I was behind your hand a lot of times. It looked like you were holding the guitar, both left hand, really loosely. Like you weren't squeezing it all, just like...
Yeah, I have a very light feel.
Yeah.
Very light strings, too.
Could you talk about that? Maybe I see a lot of students we have, squeezing real tight and...
Well, it's a matter of style. Some people have a really light style. Some people have a really, heavy kind of style. Like Jimmy Vaughn, for instance, uses really thick strings. I was in the studio opposite Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I looked out in the studio, and there was his amp and his guitar with the initials on it, the brown guitar with the initials on it. And I'm going to check that out. So I picked up the guitar and I tried playing it, and the strings were like telephone cables or something. It was like a 12 on top. And I couldn't do a thing with it. But, Jimi Hendrix, too, had really big fingers, really, But I have a real light kind of style, use really light strings, real light touch.
Like nines?
9 to 42, yeah. Sure.
What first really inspired you to play guitar? Was it music, or just like you wanted to play music?
Well, I remember driving around in my mother's car in the back seat and listening to, Elvis and that sort of thing, and I really loved the rock and roll. And I remember seeing Elvis with the guitar around him and said, I think I want to try that. That's really what got me thinking about it.
What's your favorite band that you played with?
That I played with? Yeah. Oh boy. Well, we played with a lot of bands over the years. Van Halen opened up for us for a bunch of shows. They're a really great band. The first tour we ever did, opening up for Black Sabbath, who I wasn't really familiar with at the time, but really got turned on to once I saw him play. And although I wasn't familiar with them,
Was Ozzy in the group then?
yeah, it was the original band. That was our first tour right after the record came out. I've kept in touch with them, to this day. So, but a lot of favorite bands. Sammy Hagar is a friend of mine. He's got a great band. Really love Sammy. Progressive rock stuff I like. I get a chance to meet John Anderson, the singer of Yes. I did the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp down in New York, and he was one of the guest stars. It's kind of a funny story. And, I had a group of people who were my band, sort of similar to this, except it was adults. And the song we were working on was More Than a Feeling. And he came into the studio to meet everybody. And he said, gee, you want to sing with us? He said, oh, sure, I'll sing with you. We're doing More Than a Feeling. He said, oh, what's that? He said, well, you know, Boston, More Than Feeling. He says, never heard it. So he says, what are the lyrics? So we wrote the lyrics down, and we played More Than a Feeling, and he sang over it without ever having heard it before. And it sounded like Yes and Boston kind of meshed together. It was the coolest thing I ever heard. I wish I had a recording of it. You know? It's the kind of thing that happened once and, you know, will never happen again. You know, it's pretty cool.
But what blew me away when the first time I heard it, I remember the first time hearing it because it was just like such a pivotal experience actually hearing that song. And when he goes up to the high note on the vocal, you know, it was like, wow, I didn't think, you know, I thought he was already up there. And now he goes, whoa, up higher. And so did Anderson do that? He didn't know, he'd never heard
Well, he had
the
never
song,
heard the
so
song
he didn't
before,
know
so
what to do with
he
it.
made up his own melody.
He made up his own melody.
He just took the lyrics and made up a melody and sang it as we were playing along, but it was really like a hybrid between Yes and Boston. I really wish I had a recording of that. So, good.
For someone who played that song so many times, do you hear it now and get like sick of it, or is it still like brand new to you?
When I play it, it's still new. When I hear it on the radio, not so much, because you hear it so much. Like, you know, I'll be with people that maybe people I don't really know that well, and a Boston song comes on the radio, and they look at me like, you know, to see what my reaction is, and there's no reaction, and they're disappointed. But you know, I've heard it 1,000 times. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Sure.
Well, you said earlier that you still listen to a lot of music that you've been listening to for a long time. But I was wondering if there are any new players or new bands that kind of interest you, or that
Well, I think I mentioned Weezer earlier. I really cool. You know, good songs, great attitude. You know, I'm kind of song based now more than, you know, when I first started playing, I was like. You know, I had that gunslinger kind of attitude, like, you know, I wanted to be the best player. And the lyrics, who cares about the lyrics? You know, let the singer worry about that. But you know, I'm much more focused on the songs. You know, it's the songs that really drives the whole business. You know.
When you like improvise, do you like? Some people think like vertically, horizontally, diagonally, or some people just kind of play melodies that they hear. Like, what's your approach?
Honestly, I don't really think about it. I try to make it melodic. You know, I think that's what sticks in people's heads is melody. And you know, I've met a lot of really great players. You know, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, and you watch them play, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And then 2 or 3 songs into it, it's like, yeah, you know, okay, I've seen it all. Then it comes down to the songs. You know, I think it's the songs are really the important bit. So, okay, one more.
Are all the students here, well, let me ask this first, out of all the instructors that are here, how many people had that first Boston record when they were a kid? All of us, right? So for all the students that are here that are younger, is everybody familiar with that music? Because it's, to us older guys, it's a pretty big deal. That was a huge.
Well, they probably heard it on the radio when their parents were listening to it. So.
But if you haven't checked it out, do yourself a favor and check it out.
So, we got anybody who wants to come up and play with me? No, not you. Anybody want to? Yeah.
Christian, you want to come up?
We got another guitar amp, right?
Do they have specific Boston songs?
No, we're just jamming some blues or something.
How about some Zeppelin? You like Zeppelin, right?
Yeah.
I think they know some about Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I can do bass.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on down. You got to.